Our top story on World Business Watch this morning. U.S. Attorney's Office, it's charged Indian billionaire Gautam Adani with allegedly conspiring to bribe Indian government officials with over $250 million towards solar energy contracts. On Wednesday, prosecutors from Brooklyn, New York said that Adani and other defendants had solicited funds from American investors by spreading false information about the scheme. Executives of an Indian renewable energy firm, Sagar Adani and Vineet Jain, are also accused of violating federal laws in the 5-count indictment. New York's federal grand jury charged Gautam Adani and several executives on allegations of bribery, which they reportedly paid to Indian government officials, which they kept hidden from American investors. The accusation states that the defendants conspired to bribe the Indian government illegally between 2020 and 2024 in order to get lucrative contracts for solar energy supply. In a press release, U.S. attorneys in the Eastern District of New York said billionaire chairman of conglomerate and 7 other senior business executives indicted in connection with the scheme to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in bribes and conceal bribery scheme from U.S. investors. The press statement said a 5-count criminal indictment was unsealed today in federal court in Brooklyn, charging Gautam S. Adani, Sagar R. Adani and Vineet S. Jain, executives of an Indian renewable energy company, the Indian Energy Company, with conspiracies to commit securities and wire fraud and substantive securities fraud for their roles in a multi-billion-dollar scheme to obtain funds from U.S. investors and global financial institutions on the basis of false and misleading statements. The press statement also said, I'm quoting it again, the indictment also charges Ranjit Gupta and Rupesh Agarwal, former executives of the renewable energy company, with securities that had traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and Cyril Cabanis, Saurabh Agarwal and Deepak Malhotra, former employees of a Canadian institutional investor, with conspiracy to violate the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act in connection with the bribery scheme, also perpetrated by Gautam S. Adani, Sagar R. Adani and Vineet S. Jain, involving one of the world's largest solar energy projects. Brian Pace, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, said, I'm quoting, the defendants orchestrated an elaborate scheme to bribe Indian government officials to secure contracts worth billions of dollars. According to Bloomberg, U.S. officials have been looking into allegations of bribery at Adani Group and the actions of the company's billionaire founder. The investigation sought to determine if any illegal payments were made to Indian authorities in exchange for preferential treatment of an energy project. The SEC filed a separate civil lawsuit on Wednesday. The Adani Group is yet to respond to WION's request for comments on these charges. After U.S. authorities accused Gautam Adani in an alleged bribe plan, dollar-denominated notes issued by the Adani Group plummeted by as much as 20 cents on the dollar. According to Bloomberg, Adani Green Energy dollar notes sold in March and US dollar notes, saw a record-breaking decline. There was an 8.6% loss in the value of Adani Electricity Mumbai dollar notes due in February 2030. Allow me to correct myself, that's 8.7%. That marked the worst decline since the short seller report by Hindenburg Research in 2023, which caused a more than $150 billion decline in the value of Adani Group firm stocks. Now for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Listen to this.
Prosecutors allege that executives conspired to defraud U.S. investors by concealing bribes and misrepresenting anti-corruption practices while raising billions in financing. U.S. Attorney Brian Pace stated, quote, the defendants enriched themselves at the expense of our market's integrity. FBI Assistant Director, meanwhile, James Denny added, quote unquote, we are committed to exposing corrupt agreements that harm investors and violate U.S. law, end of quote. Now, the scheme ultimately involves falsifying financial statements on the one hand, bribery documentation on the other, and attempts to obstruct justice. However, these charges remain allegations until proven in court. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.